Welcome back. This is lesson 2 on how to get started in Unity. And in this lesson you'll learn how to build a world by creating a terrain, creating mountains, valleys, and then smoothing that terrain to make hills. So let's dive straight into it. Click back into Unity and it'll bring up the project menu again. Hopefully the project that we started last time, Getting Started, will be at the top. And there it is, Getting Started. So just click on that, and after a few seconds it should bring up the Unity windows that we saw last time. Here they are, and it looks just like it did last time. Okay, so let's create a terrain. A terrain is the world in which your simulation or game will take place. So nothing there at the moment, but let's add it in. I'm going to go to the top, the menu button at the top. It says Game Object. Then come down to 3D Object, and then Terrain. And as soon as I click on that, you'll see a big white square, which you can explore. Now I'm holding down the right mouse button at the moment. You'll see that my mouse pointer turned to an eye. This means I can sort of move my view around in the scene window. If I roll the middle mouse button forwards and back, I can zoom in and out. And if I do a combination of the two, I can sort of fly over it and then look down or scroll out. And this is really useful if you want to have a big view of the whole terrain, or if you want to zoom in on a specific part of it. So I want to have a big overview of the entire terrain because I'm going to make some mountains. Okay, so with the left mouse button, I've just clicked on the terrain. You can see it's highlighted there in the hierarchy window. And in the inspector window, I've got all of these different options of things that I can do to my world, to my terrain. And what I want to do is make mountains. So here are the key buttons that you'll need to press. And this one, first off, with a mountain and an up arrow, is the one I want. And it says raise and lower the terrain. Click to raise, hold down shift to lower. Okay. I've also got some brushes. I'm just going to click on the round brush, and I'm going to leave my brush size up. Here's my brush in the middle. I'll show you what it does first. If I click and hold, you'll notice that it creates these 3D shapes which don't look much like mountains yet. When I let go, it did a little bit of a job of smoothing them out. I can change this thing called the opacity, which is like the strength of the brush. The higher that is, the steeper those mountains become. Okay, the quicker they become steep. So that's really good if you want to make really dramatic landscapes quickly. I can make a smaller brush size, so if I want to just add a bit more fine detail to a part of it, I can do. Or if I want to bring that opacity right down, and then I can just sort of really zone in on just making really fine details. So that's what that does. If I decided that I've made a mistake, I can press Control Z and it will delete the things that I've done, or Shift Control Z to bring them back again. And if I want to lower the terrain, so let's bring my brush size and strength up a bit, and if I press Shift, you'll notice that the mountains get smaller. Okay, and if I change my brush type to more of a speckled one, again you'll see the brush looks a little different, and if I click and hold, it creates sort of different effects. So really useful if you want to create different types of terrain, like perhaps there's some rocky parts or some smoother hills, or even sort of sandy beaches. So you can play around with these brushes to your heart's content. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to click on the smooth height option. Okay, so this is the hill with a little teardrop over it. I think it's supposed to be rain. So imagine there's been erosion, I guess. And if I click on the brush again, now watch what happens to this really rugged mountain area down here when I click and drag over it. So it's starting to smoothen it out to make it more like hills, I suppose, rather than rocks. And if I go over to the bigger mountains here, there you go, makes it a lot smoother. So that's a really useful way of just beginning to make your landscape look more realistic. If you obviously want its parts to be rugged, you smooth parts of it out. And again, change the brush size, change the brush strength, and you can do things faster or in more detail if you prefer. And I think that's all we're doing for now. So simple, quick way of making a terrain.